enthusiast, and welcome back. I'm so excited about this video. I cannot wait to show you all of my fall TBR and fall recommendations. So without further ado, let's get started. Maybe I should incorporate the pumpkin. Get ready for fall. That's stupid. This is the video where I go over all of my fall recommendations and my fall TBR, and I am so excited. I have 50 books, which I have done so much research on. I have tried so hard to pick books that are different and unique that you haven't heard of and that haven't been in many videos. I watched TBR videos and I tried to find categories that really reflected fall and also covers that reflected fall. So I have broken down the 50 books into different categories. I'm gonna start off with a series category, then I'm gonna go into fall romance, cozy fall, spooky fall, fall notables, and finally we're going to end it with fall classics. So I am so excited to go over all of those with you. I am going to be breaking down each book into 3 keywords or 3 phrases to make it quick and easy so you can get all of the information in the quickest way possible. So are you ready? Let's get started. The first category is going to be series, because there's nothing like a good fall series. And I am going to kick off the fall series category with ACOTAR. ACOTAR is by Sarah J. Maas. It is absolutely incredible. It is a romantasy series, and I'm going to describe it in 3 words. I would say fae, romantasy, and it has a rustic feel to it. So like a rustic fall setting, in my opinion. There's a cabin in the woods. There's a lot of woodlands. It's a very beautiful, like, imagery-ridden book series, so I definitely think that you should check this out for fall. The next series that I am going to highly recommend, and this is on my fall TBR list as well, is Belladonna in Foxglove. Now, there's actually 3 in the series that you can see here. These are by Adeline Grace. These are beautiful covers and beautiful, enthralling books, and I best describe them as gothic, haunting, and eerie. So all of the eerie, spooky vibes that you want. There is a girl who falls in love with death. It is beautiful. It's almost Regency to me, and I really, really enjoy it. So definitely check this one out. The next series that I highly recommend, and I feel like I've heard about this from everybody, and everybody loves this series. This is the Sweater Weather series. Now, this is written by a collaboration of many different authors, and it gives you all the sporty, whimsical, rom-com-y vibes. So definitely check out this series. I think it's going to be so good for fall, and I feel like it's going to just be a feel-good series. So if you are a lover of Courtney Wall, she is one of the authors, and I think there's many more. So definitely check it out. I think it's going to be a great series. This next series is absolutely adorable. So there's actually 2 books in the series currently. This is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. It has all the fall vibes on the front cover, which is one of the biggest reasons that I picked it up. There's also book 2, which is The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, and I just feel like these would be perfect for fall. They remind me of like yummy treats and just when you go to a cafe with your book, and it sounds so magical. I describe these as autumnal, yummy, and Gilmore Girl-esque. So if you can imagine anything better for fall, I don't know what that is. Better than Gilmore Girls? I mean, come on. This is Pumpkin Everything and Maple Sugar Crush, and these books are by Beth Labonte, and they're supposed to be like so feel-good and warm-hearted. I would describe them best as Hallmark, wholesome, and small-town vibes. So I can't imagine anything better than that. Now we're gonna get into a few cozies, and I actually have all of these in physical form, and they are so wonderful. The first book that I have is Crime and Poetry, and this is by Amanda Flower. I love this cover. It's so pretty, and it's about a magical bookstore. And when you think of a magical bookstore, you think of Halloween, you think of fall, and I just thought this was so perfect. I would describe this book as magical, bookish, and for classics lovers. There's a lot of classics that are mentioned and a lot of literary things mentioned in this book, so I would say this is like a book lover's cozy. Perfect for fall. The next cozy that I also have is In the Company of Witches by R. Lee Wallace. I absolutely love this cover. I think it is so spooky and perfect for this time of year. I would describe this best as spooky, ghosty, and there is an Airbnb. It's so cute. It's about this lady who goes to help her aunt in her B&B, and obviously someone ends up dead, and there's a whole mystery around it, and it has to be solved. And of course there's a cat as a perfect sidekick to help everybody figure it out, but it just felt so warm and cozy for fall. The next one I'm going to recommend is part of a great series, and this is A League of Literary Ladies. This is by Kylie Logan. This is The Legend of Sleepy Harlow. Look at how fall the cover looks. It's so beautiful. I would best describe this book as probably a retelling, because it's a retelling of Sleepy Hollow. It's Halloween vibes and ghost stories. So I feel like this would be perfect for fall. And I just imagine reading this book on my back deck while all the leaves are falling in my lap. It just sounds perfect. This next book is so cute. I love the cover. This is Pride and Premeditation by Tirzah Price. I think this is going to be so fun for fall. I described it as Regency-esque Pride and Prejudice retelling with a twist of murder. So there's a murder mystery in this, which I feel like it's like a Regency cozy. So that just sounded so fun to me. It's part of the Jane Austen murder mystery series, and there's several books in there. So I just think that would be so fun to have a little cozy series to read during fall. The next series that I would like to recommend, I just feel like it has that eerie, like misty, dark and cold vibe on the cover. This is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Now, this is also part of a series, and I think this is going to be so amazing. Now, if I could describe this, it would be gothic, misty kingdom, and forbidden love. There's also something with her mental state in this book, like a powerful voice inside her head that she can't control, so it's kind of spooky, but I just felt like it would be so perfect. The second in the series is called Two Twisted Crowns, and I just think this would be a perfect fall fantasy. This next book I have actually had for a long time, and I just grabbed it off the shelf. There was no hype around it at the time. I didn't know anything about it, and this is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahern or Marin. I think it looks so perfect for fall. It's also part of a series, and not a super long series. I think there's just 3 books, but I would describe this best as like cat and mouse, witchy, and there is a forced marriage in this book. It reminds me so much of Heartless Hunter, but even more intense because it's a forced marriage situation. So it's witch hunters, it's forbidden love, it's just all the things that you want, and it's also got the spooky added element of being witchy, so I think this would be perfect for fall. I adore this cover. It is so beautiful. This is Autumn Skies over Ruby Falls, and this is part of the series Jewel Island. This is book 2 in the series by Holly Martin, and I think it just screams fall to me. Does it not? It's so pretty. Now, this is set in the Cornish coast. I could describe it as Friends to Lovers, Anne of Green Gables-esque, and beautiful countryside. So if those are all the things that you love and you're interested in, I feel like this would be just like a perfect countryside cozy fall read. I chose this book purely off the cover. It is gorgeous, and I have heard nobody talk about it. It's Meet Me on Lover's Lane, and this is by Nina Bacchi or Bacchi. This is part of her Hopeless Romantic series, and this is book 2. And I just feel like this would be perfect for fall. The cover screams fall to me, and it screams like whimsical little romance, and I'm so excited about it. So I would describe this best as self-deprecating humor, steamy banter, and a rustic small town, which what more could you ever want? I am here for it. I fell in love with this cover. I fell in love with it. And I have heard nobody talking about this book. It's so cute. It is The Bake Shop at Pumpkin and Spice by Donna Kaufman and Kate Angel. So it's dual authors. This is part of the Moonbright Maine series, and this is also book 2. But it's so gorgeous, and I could not help it. I know that everyone is looking for a series to read for fall, so this would be a perfect series, and this is only the 2nd book, so you could catch up really quickly. But I would describe this as enchanting treats, spooky fall setting, and Halloween parades. It just reminded me when I read the back of like Stars Hollow and all of their festivals and parades and Halloween parades. What more could you want? Now, this next book is also part of a series, and this is book 9, but I did do some research, and you can read it as a standalone. You would just have to accept the fact that you're not super familiar with all of the characters, but the story itself doesn't have to necessarily be interconnected with the others. But this is New Beginnings at the Old Bakehouse, and if you see me looking over here, I'm looking at all my notes. This is from the Love Heart Lane series, and this is by Christy Barlow. This is full of riddles, chance meetings, and holiday warmth and serendipity. I can't think of anything else that would be more perfect for fall than all of those words. Oh my gosh, this is so perfect for fall. I love the Vampire series. Now, this is My Vampire. It's a series by Jenna Levine. The first one is My Roommate is a Vampire, which I thought was so cool. And the book number 2 just came out, and it is, I think, called My Roommate is a Vampire +1 or something like that. But I am so excited for this series because I feel like this would be perfect for fall. It could be best described as vampires, spooky rom-com, and forced proximity. I mean, come on. It's like every Twilight lover's dream kind of series. I picked this book purely off of the beautiful fall cover. It is gorgeous, but this is Autumn, and this is by Allie Smith. This is part of her seasonal courtlet series, and this is number 1 in her courtlet. And so I guess this could best be described as like poetry meets prose, seasonal reflections, and literary fiction. If you want a book that would just make you feel like you've been wrapped up in a warm hug of seasonal imagery and deep thoughts about the seasonal changes in our lives, this would be a great book to pick up. The next series, I actually haven't heard too many people talking about booktube, but I have heard The X-Hex. So this is the X-Hex series, and this is by Erin Sterling. Now there's book 1 and 2. So the first one, of course, is The X-Hex, and the second is The Kiss Curse. But this is best described as like spine-tingling romance, cursed boyfriends, and witchy vows. And I just feel like, oh my gosh, perfect for fall. All the spooky vibes, but also a little bit of like the cozy vibe. So I'm so here for it. Now we are getting into fall romances, one of my favorite categories. I am a romance girly, so let's get right into it. This is actually a book I haven't heard too many people talking about, which is strange because the cover screams fall, but this is You Again, and this is by Kate Goldbeck. This can be best described as a contemporary love story. It has a New York fall setting, and it's friends to lovers. I think it is just absolutely gorgeous. I would like to note that there is an aspect of LGBT in this as well. So I don't know if that is something that you are not familiar with, but I wanted you to be aware. But I just think the cover screams fall, and it just looks so gorgeous to me. I was in a Reddit group, and the Reddit group was all about Gilmore Girls, and this book came up so much. This is The City Baker's Guide to Country Living by Louise Miller. This could be best described as like almost like Suki and Lorelai's life merged together in Gilmore Girls. So it's like culinary. She works at a place called the Sugar Maple Inn, and there are apple contests. So I just feel like that screams fall to me, and it has a Gilmore Girls vibe as well. So Accidentally Amy is actually just being republished, I believe. I don't think this is actually a new book from Lynn Painter, but this screams fall. If you zoom in, you can see that there are fall leaves all over. And I would best describe this book as grumpy sunshine. There's a fall setting, and there's also an adorable meet cute. So I feel like this would be just such a whirlwind, whimsical little fall romance. I laughed so hard when I looked this book up because it says a pumpkin in a patch, and I was thinking like a patch, like a goatee, but no, it's like a patch, like a pirate. This is like a piratey fall book. It's a second chance romance. There's a single dad, and it's also a clean romance. Basically, this writer, she's writing fictional stories, but they using real people's names that she knows. And then she encounters one of the real people that she's used in her fantasy stories, and she starts falling for him. I mean, that is so amazing. The next book is Happily Haunted After by Brittany Kelly. This cover is adorable, and this could be best described as paranormal, best friends to lovers, and pumpkin spice, heavy on the spice. So I would definitely be careful if you're not someone who likes to read a lot of spicy stuff. This was hashtagged as a little bit more spicy, but the cover is unbeatable, and I just feel like it has such a fall vibe to it. Wrapping up fall romances with my absolute favorite cover of all of these books is Given Our History, and this is by Kristen J. Miller. This is an academia romance. There's dual timelines, and there's forced proximity. It also takes place at a beautiful fall college campus, which kind of reminds me of Gilmore Girls as well, because there's Yale University that's just drenched in fall all the time. So I think this would be a perfect read, and the cover is my favorite. Now we're getting into cozy fall. These are all of the fall reads that I have categorized as cozy for you. The first one is by a favorite author. I just started finding out about her and everyone loves her. I love her. This is The Simplicity of Cider by Amy E. Reichert. This cover is gorgeous and it could be best described as apple orchards. It's a Midwestern setting in fall and it's also very nostalgic. So if you live in the Midwest and you want to have a book that romanticizes fall for you, this would be the book for you. This next book, the cover just screams fall to me. It's got all the warm tones. This is First Frost. Now this is actually supposed to be part of a series and I didn't put it up there because it can be read as a standalone. This is part of Sarah Addison Allen's Waverly Family series and this is book 2. But these books have such an age gap that they're not necessarily interconnected so closely, so you can read it as a standalone. But I would best describe this as an October representation setting. It's North Carolina and it's handcrafted confection. So I feel like this would be so cozy for fall. If you love a Nicholas Sparks North Carolina setting, just imagine that, but imagine it fall. I do have to give a shout out to Darling Desi, my all-time favorite booktuber, because she did reference this book. This is The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic by Breanne Randall, and this book looks adorable. I could best describe it as a secret society, practical magic meets Gilmore Girls, and it has a witchy vibe. So I feel like that would be absolutely perfect for fall. I feel like I keep saying Gilmore Girls with every book, but I mean, what is more the epitome of fall than Gilmore Girls? This next book is fall more for the feels, not necessarily for the cover, but this is a book by Diane Setterfield, and this is The 13th Tale. This is supposed to be kind of like a book that has a fall feel, not necessarily a fall setting. So I feel like a fall is the season for letting go and reflecting in your life and transitioning into something more. And so this is actually best described as a love letter to reading. It's historical fiction, and there's also a girl with a hidden past that has to come to terms with her life. But I do think that there's a lot about reading by candlelight, and kind of romanticizing literature, and that just feels fall and cozy to me. I heard about this book a long time ago, and I love that it's coming back around. This is The Spellbook of Katrina von Cassel by Alyssa Palombo, I think, or Palombo. Yeah, I think I got it right. This is a Sleepy Hollow retelling, and I guess I could best describe it as like atmospheric, an unconventional romance, and very dark and broody. So I think this would be perfect for fall. There's also like a lot of the same Sleepy Hollow references in there. So it's just basically like a Sleepy Hollow story reimagined. This cover is unbeatable. This is picture perfect autumn, and it really does look that way. This is by Shelley Noble. This could be best described as New England in fall, Gothic beach house and found family. It is so adorable, and this girl goes on a journey to find something precious in her life, and she ends up stumbling upon someone who could change her life forever. Now we are getting into spooky fall, and I am so excited for this category. It's going to be kicked off with Dark Harvest by Norman Patridge. Now this book could best be described as like a Hunger Games-esque type situation, but Halloween, Hunger Games, historical fiction in a creepy town. Basically, there is a game to find out who can be reigning October Boy. An October Boy is someone who has to fight for the right to be named October Boy, and he comes out of the woods every year to fight whoever would think they could stand up to him. And so this sounds really, really Children of the Corn, scary, creepy, but I was here for it. The next book is A Haunting on a Hill, and this reminded me so much of that old Catherine Zeta-Jones movie, The Haunting. And this could be best described as a writer's weekend getaway with a haunted house and some ghosty vibes, and I felt like that was perfect. Also, the cover just looks really intriguing and cozy to me. The next book is gorgeous. The cover is beautiful. This is In the Nightwood by Dale Bailey, and this could be best described as like a fall fairy tale. a haunted wood situation in a Victorian fantasy. And I just thought this sounded absolutely incredible, and I am so excited to dive in. I think this has also been referenced as something you could read as almost like a middle grade book, so I'm very much excited to dive into this. This cover is awesome. This screams Halloween to me. This is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow. This has a Salem setting. They're sister witches and it's trailblazing. Kind of like The Crucible meets Hocus Pocus because they're witchy sisters, and I'm just so excited for this. The fall vibes on the front of this book and the Halloween feel I get is just unmatched. I'm so excited for this book. This is The Kindred Spirits Supper Club. This is by Amy E. Reichert. Once again, could be best described as like a supernatural rom-com, heartwarming, and kind of like a Sabrina the Teenage Witch vibe, which I thought was so great. They end up meeting a bunch of different like ghosts, and it's maybe kind of like Casper. So I felt like this would be perfect for fall, and it looks like they're on a little fall picnic. So let's definitely try this one. This next book I heard about from TikTok a long time ago, and I love it because this whole storyline reminds me of like, do you remember in Twilight when Jasper was telling his story, kind of like when he was in Texas and he was a military officer and all of these random occurrences with vampires started to occur? This is kind of the entire setting of this book. I would best describe this as historical fiction, 1840s horror, and Twilight-esque. Another book on my fall TBR is A Sorceress Comes to Call, and this is by T. Kingfisher. Look at the cover, it is absolutely gorgeous. This could be best described as probably a dark fantasy, a classic reimagined and found families. This is actually based off a classic that already exists, and it's just perfect for fall. I will never not recommend this book. This is Heartless Hunter, and I got it from NetGalley. I loved this book the moment it came out. It was so incredible. I would best describe this as witch hunters, forbidden love, and a love triangle. If you don't like reading about witches, I get it, but like definitely just try this. It's one of the best fantasy books that I have ever read. The next book I'm going to recommend is Within These Wicked Walls, and this is actually a Reese Witherspoon young adult edition book. And I love this book because it kind of reminded me of The Housemaid meets Gothic fantasy. So definitely check this out. It's also got like a kind of like family drama situation. So it's kind of like a domestic thriller, but very kind of eerie fall and eerie Halloween. So check it out. It looks awesome. This is by Lauren Blackwood. This next book I have to give Liv's library credit because I did hear about this book from her channel, but this is An Academy of Liars by Alexis Henderson. This could be best described as dark academia, eerie college campus, and uncontrollable powers. It kind of reminds me of like Tracy Wolf's Crave, so definitely check it out. If you are a Dracula fan, Lucy Undying is for you. This is described as like a Dracula setting, seductive in first century London, which I think is amazing because I feel like first century London was full of like moral dilemmas and no one had it together, and it just gives me all of the Halloween vibes. The next book I want to recommend is The Night Circus, and this could be best described as a young adult fantasy, even though some people say it's not young adult, but I've heard mostly that it is. A band of misfits and also rival magicians. It kind of reminds me of like The Greatest Showman, but make it Halloween vibes, and I am here for it. The next book is actually part of a series, but I didn't know that, so I put it in this category. Just ignore it, but you can probably read this as a standalone as well. But this is a love story by Dana Schwartz, Anatomy. It is historical fiction, Gothic romance, and there's a resurrection man in there that exhumes bodies for research. And I was like, that sounds very Halloween. Walking through a graveyard, bumping into someone who's exhuming bodies, like, these are fall notables. This is a new category. I decided to make a category where books reminded me of fall, but they didn't actually fall in a specific category. So this is October by Katja Balin. This is described as a middle grade book, and it is fall imagery, an off-grid family, and there's like so much homage to nature. So there's a lot of fall imagery in this book that describes beautifully the fall aesthetic that you would want to be in. And it's also childlike and imaginative, so definitely check this one out. Next book in my fall TBR is What the River Knows, and this is by Isabel Ibanez. This is so cute, and I love the cover so much. It is set in Egypt, so it is like best described as mythical curses set in Egypt and rivals to lovers. I cannot wait. It's like a historical story, like a historical fantasy, but I am just so excited about this book. The next book I have is The Mad Woman Upstairs. This is by Catherine Lau. I loved all the fall colors and the warm tones on this book. This could be best described as classic literature mystery. There's a literary scavenger hunt in this book that she does, and the setting is Oxford University, which just makes me think of Rory sitting by her tree at Yale University reading a book. This is also going to be reminiscent of the Jane Eyre story, so definitely check this out. I have been wanting to try this book out for so long. This is The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. Also notable would be her book The Wishing Game, because they're both very magical and full of fall, but this could be best described as Chronicles of Narnia-esque. There's West Virginia State Forest woods in here, and also magical realism. Basically, these boys disappear into the woods, but really they go into another magical realm, and I felt like this just felt so cozy for fall. This cover just makes me think of sitting at a bonfire looking up at the moon through the trees, like the light of the fire. Now we are into the category of classics, and nothing is better than Wuthering Heights. The entire fall aesthetic in this book is unmatched. This is by Emily Bronte. It is dark and broody. There's emotional intensity and there's haunting love. And the entire book just feels like you're in this misty woods with rain and it's cold, and it just feels like you want to read it with a hot cup of tea wrapped up in a blanket. There's also just such a tragedy to this love story, so it's so good for fall. I'm so excited for it. Next classic that I want to recommend is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This could be best described as dark family secrets, moral dilemmas, and long-suffering love, but there's such a spooky aspect. This girl comes to a house and she thinks it's haunted, but actually something even more sinister is at play. This book, the entire aesthetic is just so eerie and spooky. Definitely check this one out. It's a perfect classic for fall. When I think of fall, I think of classics. I think of just being wrapped up in a warm blanket and reading something that just makes me feel nostalgic, and that would be Pride and Prejudice. This is such a gorgeous copy. This is Regency love, coming of age, and descriptive nature imagery. The reason I think it's so perfect for fall is, I don't know about you, but for me, every fall, I just want to read a book that is classical literature, that I can feel like I'm almost back in school, like back in college, back in high school, because fall is back to school, and I just feel like it always makes me so nostalgic for my high school days. So I love rereading books that I read during that era of time, and maybe you will too. Thank you, friends, for watching. That is my TBR for fall and all of my fall recommendations. I worked really hard to try to find books that delivered the fall feel and aesthetic to you, and I hope that you find something that you will love for fall. I hope that your books are amazing and your tea is delicious. I will see you back here for more next time. Bye-bye.